the accident's part of my reason. Nate's part of my reason. My kids are part of my reason, and nieces and nephews. But like Christine, like strangers are a part of my reason. Like when people are saying like, oh my gosh, Kristi lost 93 pounds. I've got 50 to lose. Like maybe there's one thing I can tell them that's going to help them reach their goal too. And those are my big wins. I'm most proud of, and it was surprised me. I didn't expect it, but I'm most proud of the people in the last 18 months that were there for me when I started the journey that I didn't have in the plan. Like, are my parents going to be proud of me? Absolutely. It's unconditional love. Were my kids going to be huge cheerleaders? Like, I knew those people were looking forward to this. I knew my doctor, my medical team, I knew those people on board. I didn't realize I was going to make friends at the gym, or I was going to make friends in the community, complete strangers who were rooting for me behind the scenes, that almost give me more motivation because they didn't have to. They didn't sign up to be part of Kristi's cheerleading squad.
Welcome to the One Pebble Podcast. Listeners, YouTube watchers, we are grateful that you have joined us today. I am so pumped about our guest today. I just have to start with a woohoo! I am excited. You wait, you are about to be incredibly inspired. I want to introduce you to Kristi Barber. She is way younger than me, and I have looked up to her for many, many decades. And when I think of her, I think of light and joy. Most recently, over the last 18 months, I've gotten to know her better. She is a representative and employed at Snap Fitness in Spicer, Minnesota, where we go to the gym. And I have to tell you, when we first started at Snap Fitness and Kristi walked in the room, anytime she walks in a room, she lights up the room. I was so drawn to her joy. I was so drawn to how engaging she was. When I think of her, she's an absolute light to everyone around her. And we are so excited for you all to hear her story today. She has been through highs in life that are remarkable. She has been through the saddest of the lows in life. We are going to focus on the last 3 years of her life primarily. And February is Heart Health Month, and we're going to focus on health and wellness. And she has been on an incredible weight loss journey. And I think we're all striving to be our absolute best selves. Perfection doesn't exist, but we are celebrating February being Heart Health Month. We're celebrating you, Kristi. We're celebrating your weight loss, but even more than your weight loss, we're celebrating who you are, the spirit and light and joy of who you are, your family, what you do professionally, all the people that you inspire at Snap Fitness. And I have to say that her weight loss is only one small part of her ripples and story. There is so many ripples to Kristi Barber and so much coolness and so much positivity. Thank you for joining us, and you're about to be incredibly inspired. Kristi, we are so glad that you're on the One Pebble podcast.
Thank you. I was sharing, I'm bewildered and humbled that I'm here today. But thank you very much. It's been kind of an honor to be invited.
We are so honored to have you here. I already said it, but February is Heart Health Month. The American Heart Association was started in 1924 by 6 cardiologists over 100 years ago. And heart disease is actually the #1 killer worldwide. And so today we're going to learn a lot about your personal story, the wellness journey that you've been on. And we're going to hear all about your weight loss, but we're going to hear so much more. Like I said, there is ripples way beyond your weight loss and your positivity, your light, and your joy. Anytime I'm at Snap Fitness, watching you run around that place
Love that place.
You're just a light and you're a joy and you're incredibly inspiring. I also want to give a shout out to Nate and Jess Neal. We have a brand new Snap Fitness in Spicer, Minnesota.
It's so cool.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
And we couldn't be more proud of what they have done and the new Snap Fitness. So we're celebrating you today, Kristi, and we're celebrating who you are and your life story. Why don't you begin by take us back to when you were young? And like I said, you're going to hear, to you, the listeners, they're going to hear so much about you've had the lowest of the lows in your life and probably the highest of the highs, but people are going to be inspired by you today. And you sharing your story will add so much value and purpose to lives. But I want them to tell us about growing up and bring us to what you do professionally today. And we're going to focus specifically on the last 3 years of your life. As we all try to be our best selves, perfection isn't about life. We're not here to be perfect, but we're all trying to be our best self. And I quickly identified that I want to be more like you, and you inspire me greatly. And the joy and the light and the inspiration you are to all around you, you're helping so many people personally and professionally to be their best self. So one more, woohoo! Woohoo! We're celebrating you today. Okay, take it away. Share with us a little bit about growing up.
Well, it's kind of poetic that I'm sitting here in Spicer, Minnesota, not far from Green Lake, because those are my earliest memories. I've lived in Spicer my entire life, except for college and a period where I was married and lived in the cities. Spicer's been my home. I know we were reminiscing a little bit about back in the day. One of my most beautiful memories was being Miss Spicer and being a representative of this beautiful community we live in. So, and some of our earliest memories of like crossing paths have been, at local parades or at, local grocery store, at our local gym, because like one of the most beautiful things about living in this community is the people. Like you talked about people being our heartbeat. Oh my gosh. I mean, we are kindred souls in the way that this town and these people are our heartbeats. So, I'm kind of born in Spicer, probably raised in Spicer, and I'll probably retire in Spicer. And I love living here. I am the oldest daughter of 4 siblings. My mom is still here. My dad is still here. My stepmom is still here. My children were born and raised here. I'm the proud mom of 2 kids. Taylor is my soon-to-be 25-year-old. She's a school teacher, and she's literally one of the most important people in my life, and probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm here. And I keep fighting to be a better person and a better mom. And my son, Jackson, the other piece of my heart, biggest piece of my heart, he's currently at the University of Minnesota, studying there. And those are the 2 people I talk about literally the most in my life. And my childhood just dates back to mostly being the big sister in this little town. We grew up not far from Green Lake. Salisbury Beach was actually sort of like our front lawn, which was kind of cool. When I tell people that, like, that's where we learned how to swim, where to swim. And we were on our bikes all day. I just remember a lot of activity as a kid because you could. I mean, our parents would let us get on our bikes and our rollerblades and walk all over town. And I just remember a really busy and active community. And it's still that way. I sit on the school board of New London Spicer schools. And, I was at the AAA award banquet last night, and I saw that, we offer 33 in our little New London Spicer community. We offer 33 or more like fine arts and activities and events. We live in a vibrant community where the people here like really support and encourage people to stay active in their community, whether that through their faith communities, whether that through, we got Winterfest coming up this next weekend. I mean, we are a community that really supports people being engaged, civic minded, and, global citizens. And that's really important to me in this community. And so my childhood had ups and downs, as we've talked about. Like living in this community is definitely one of the highs. My parents divorced when I was young. And that is also, it's part of the trauma of childhood, and about what shapes us and our experiences. And that was always hard. I think one of the beautiful things that morphs and evolves is that the fact that my parents are close now and they all get along great. And I think grandkids help with that. I think sometimes putting our health comes first. And I know later today we're going to be talking about the loss of my brother. And I know that coming together as a family, even in times of grief, is part of the journey. And it's part of, going into American Heart Health Month. That's why we want to take the best care of ourselves for our family and those we love, and for the community we live in. And for you and I talked about how this One Pebble podcast is so important to me. I love listening to it on the road for my day job as a guardian ad litem for the state of Minnesota. I love listening to it. It inspires me. It motivates me to be a better person, to be a better advocate for children, to be a better mom to my kids, to be a better sister, to be a better daughter. It motivates me. And if there's one person listening today that, can benefit from my story or take a piece of that and help someone else, then it's worth it. And so thank you. I'm, again, bewildered and humbled to be here today. And I'm glad that you invited me on.
I'm equally humbled by you and the light that you are to countless people. I just watch you make a difference in lives. And I'm so proud of the joy of who you are and the difference that you're making in lives. So beyond excited to celebrate you today. Before we focus on the last 3 years of your life, God's had you on just an amazing journey the last 3 years. And you actually, I'm going to call it a miracle. Yeah. You have been through so many highs and so many lows, as I said. But before you share that story with our listeners, tell them what you do professionally. You already mentioned it, but tell them a little bit more about what that means. I know you're so passionate about your professional work, and that's one segment of the ripples to Kristi Barber.
Yeah. I love my day job. I'm a guardian ad litem for the state of Minnesota. And a lot of people are like, what does a guardian ad litem do? And essentially, I'm sort of like the eyes and the ears for the judges in our community. And essentially my role is to advocate for the best interests of children. And a lot of times people are really confused by that. But the best interests of children are not that different than the best interests for adults too. From a holistic well-being standpoint, we all want to be living our best lives. We want to be safe in our community and our homes. We want to be safe with our family. We want all of our well-being needs met. That's essentially what I get to do as my day job. I get to go to court. I get to spend time with children. I get to spend time with families. I get to help set them up for success. A lot of times we're trying to correct a condition. We're trying to correct something that has happened to the family that has impacted them in maybe an unsafe way. And we're sort of like their cheerleaders. And I know child protection and government can sometimes get a bad rap. And I know that these are trying times and we're all feeling it. But I know a lot of people know and feel that we're doing good. We really are advocating to try to help people. And so I spend a lot of my day advocating for children. And I love it. I travel the whole state. I get to be really curious about people. And I get to be really creative in how I tell their story to the court and the judges. And we have a fantastic judicial and social work community here in the 8th Judicial District. And so I love what I get to do. And then when I'm not advocating for children within the judicial branch, then I get to advocate for kids on the school board, which is always funny. People are like, you get paid to be on the school board? A little. But it's really, that's another part of my busy week is advocating for the community and the students and the teachers within the school board. I do a little bit of private work through the state of Minnesota. And then sort of something that has morphed in the last 18 months is when I became an empty nester. When Jackson left the nest to go to school, I knew that I needed to take extra special care of myself socially, like social emotionally. And I knew that I would need support because we're imperfect, we're imperfect humans. And I knew that I would need some social support because not being a mom was going to be a huge adjustment to me, like that day-to-day mom. still a mom, but always a mom. But that day-to-day mom was kind of being taken away from me, and I knew I needed to fill my hours with something positive. And so I really dived into the self-care and self-worth and that self-discovery. And I'd been a lifelong member of SNAP. Nate and Jess had a posting for, come help us out 4 hours a week, which is now turned into like 25 hours a week because I love it there. It's my home away from home. It's like a spa retreat right now. But I started helping out there, and these people have become not just my gym buddies. I mean, some of these people are some of my closest friends. Nate and Jess have become like my family. The strangers who walk in, who engage in conversation and community have become a huge part of my life and my journey. My 93-pound weight loss in the last, woohoo, that's a woohoo. I know, woohoo, I'm almost to 100 pounds. That's become a huge part of like my proud in the last couple of hard years. And it's hard work. But that's something that I'm working on, and that helps me become a better professional in my day job because I'm rooting for people's success. And now I've got people, even my clients, that are rooting for my success too. And I think like that vulnerability, like even to come on the podcast and talk about this, it's not in my nature to do it. And so thank you for pulling me out of my comfort zone a little bit to talk about this weight loss. It's sometimes I get comments like, you've lost an entire human. And you're like, oh, yeah, I have. But then at the end of the day, you're like, but yeah, that was part of what I needed to do for myself. And thanks for recognizing that. Thanks for supporting me on that. Thanks for any sort of motivation and any side of any support you can give me, because those little comments and that communication and feedback, they help.
Kristi, take us to about 3 years ago, coming up in April. I'm calling it a miracle.
Yeah.
The good Lord was so far from ready to take you. You've had more purpose on earth. You had a significant car accident.
Yeah.
Start there. And we want to hear how that has led to part of your story today, the passing of your brother. My deepest sympathy to you, your parents, your siblings, your sister-in-law, her children. I can't imagine what it would be like to lose a sibling. I have tremendous reverence and deep sympathy for your loss. He will never be forgotten, and his tremendous legacy will always live on. I know you're doing an incredible job of honoring that. I know that he's a big part of your story. Only share what you're comfortable sharing, but tell us a little bit about that accident. Take us from there, because I think all of this has been part of who you are today.
There's been some hard things in the last couple of years. And I know like those hard things I know have shaped who I am. They're still sometimes kind of raw and they're still kind of fresh, but really grateful that I'm here to talk about them today. It's a little bittersweet knowing my brother's not here. But 3 years ago, ironically, on April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, I had taken a job with our local post office. As we know, there was a shortage. And so I was helping them out on Saturdays, deliver mail. And it was just a snowstorm. And I was out learning a new route with one of our mail carriers. And the irony was we were at the very end of the route. And I was literally less than a mile from where I live too. So my son and my brother and family members were awfully close when the helicopters landed or the helicopter landed and all the emergency response. Most of my neighbors saw the crash, but it was just a freak accident. Someone crossed the center line, and it was a head-on crash. And I don't remember a lot about the accident. But I sustained some serious injuries that I'm still to this day doing some physical therapy for and doctoring for. And because when you get a head-on car crash when you're 20s, it's a little easier to bounce back and recover. When you're in your 40s and mid-40s, the doctors and the surgeons and all the specialists say it takes some extra TLC and you might not get back to 100%, but when you have physical and chronic pain from an accident, you really need to take the best care of yourself. And that's what I've been doing for 3 years. SNAP's been a huge part of it. My faith has been a big part of it. People in my life have been a big part of it. But yeah, that accident was unfortunate. I have some lingering pain from those injuries. And luckily everyone didn't walk away, but luckily everyone survived the accident. And it's just another one of those reminders to like take each day for granted, and be safe when we're traveling and take really good care of our bodies so that way we can recover when chronic illnesses or acute illnesses happen. Because I think my wellness journey is impacted by the fact now that I want to be the strongest person for myself now. I want to take good care of my spine because of what happened. I want to take good care of my shoulder and my head. And because of when you have a head injury and shoulder and fractures and spines and all that, you want to take really good care of your body. So that way I can lift my grandkids in the air one day and play tennis and golf and, use my hands for the Lord's good work and in the future and not succumb to that chronic pain. So that's another reason why I'm working so hard at the weight loss to help my spine and my body and my mind recover from that accident.
Kristi, losing 93 pounds is remarkable. But then I think of an accident prior to that and how injured you were. It even makes the story 10 times more remarkable. So after the accident, did you just tell yourself, I need to work on the weight loss? Or how did you decide, kind of take us from the accident, what your mind and heart was telling you? And I know you're going to bring us to the point where you lost your amazing brother, Nate.
Yeah. So this is still sort of it's a balancing act. As humans and as moms, that we're always trying to balance everything, right? We're trying to balance our work, trying to balance our friendships, the people we care about and spending time. There's not an infinite amount of time. So we're trying to balance it. It's kind of the same way with recovery from an accident. I don't want people to have to take care of me. I like to take care of other people. So the accident wasn't just physically challenging. I think it took a huge social emotional toll on me because I didn't want my son to have to help me get dressed and go to the bathroom and, feed me. I didn't want people to have to pick me up and take me to all of my appointments. It took me a long time to feel comfortable to get back on the road. After a head-on crash, there's some, psychological trauma you have to work through. And I didn't want to rely on people. But I soon learned that I needed that. I had really great friends that picked me up and, took me to those places and dropped things. Had really great support with meals and food and all that, but I didn't know that I needed all that. But the recovery from that is challenging because you need to rely on people and then you have to balance things. So I'm still balancing things because at that point in time, you have to deal with all the injuries and all the doctoring and the therapies, lots of physical therapy, pool therapy, land therapy, the muscle therapy, dry needling therapy, and my team is fabulous, by the way. A soft plug for them. I have some of the best medical team out there through Centricare. I love all of them deeply, and they're my rock. And they're still my rock to this day. I go weekly still. But you have to balance that with a really good therapist as well to walk you through all that. But then you also need to take care of your spiritual and emotional health. The weight loss had to be secondary to that because you can't focus on weight loss when you're in pain. And that was really hard for me because I wanted to continue with that journey. But you had to get the pain manageable and controlled first. And so that's what I do each week. It's still a part of me. So if I miss physical therapy one week while I'm working out on the treadmill and stuff and things start building, I'll know I need to get back in to see that. So it's a balancing act of still losing weight, having a really good medical team in place, but then also taking care of your body. And you really need to read the cues of your body too. Even people without a chronic illness or an injury have to know, did Christine just put in 16 hours yesterday? Should you be going and putting 5 miles on the treadmill today? Should you be focusing on the weight loss that day, or should you be taking a nap? Should you be feeding your soul? Should you be, reconnecting with a friend? You really, at this age, I've learned to take cues from my body, but then also take cues from people around me too, of you're not maybe at your best self today maybe is a good rest day. I've got some really great friends at the gym who'll be like, today's a rest day for you, or today's a rest day for me. And that really helps. So I couldn't start on the weight loss right away, to get back to your question. But then as the pain has gotten less and less, and as my team has found the right recipe to manage some of the pain, then the weight loss has become a lot easier. A lot of people are probably going to have questions of like, how did you lose 93 pounds? And how are you going to, go over 100? And I wish there was like a simple answer. I wish like I could tell you, Christine, today, like, oh my gosh, I just, walk 3 miles a day every day and the 93 pounds fell off. But like, it's not that simple, right? So like,
let me just stop you. You've told me many times it's body, mind, and spirit.
Yes.
It's not just one thing. Mm-hmm. And you've also said to me, like, so many things play into this equation. Mm-hmm. It's not just this prescription for the perfect amount of weights or cardio or the certain food. You've just really set up, it is so many different things. Mm-hmm. So people are going to wonder for their own success. Right. You are incredibly inspirational. Talk about the body, mind, and spirit. This is way open-ended. And then the many little building blocks. Just kind of walk us through all of that.
Well, I had to start by getting like my physician, who I've had for a long time, Dr. Hoffman. I had to get him on board. And he's been trying for 20 years to get me to maintain weight loss, because I've had the roller coaster, right? Of life, from childhood till now. I've had the years where I'm super healthy and unhealthy, super healthy, unhealthy. And they're all, if you put them out on a graph and chart it out and take a deep dive, what was working then and what wasn't working. So you first have to get your medical team on board, but you got to get your family on board too. I sat down with my kids and I'm like, this is really important to me. That might mean less time here and there because I have to focus on me. And be honest, our kids deserve that. That's what I do professionally. I tell parents, getting sober, you're doing that not only just for your kids, but you're doing it for you as well, because they need the healthiest parent. And so I had to get my kids on board. So you got to get your medical team on board. You got to develop a really good roadmap, a plan for how this is going to work this time. Because I've tried it all. I've tried the grapefruit diets. I've tried the living at the gym, 3-4 hours a day. I've tried all the things. My doctor wanted me to do lap band. They wanted you to do the stomach stapling. Wanted you to do all of those things. And in my heart, I was all like, but I'm strong enough. I'm educated. I have all the supports. I have every tool I need in the toolbox to do this. Just why isn't it working long term? Short term, yes. Long term, why wasn't it working? And so we got a special medical team on board. I work for the state, so they had a program called Omada, where you get a health coach. They send you a scale you have to weigh in on every day. I spent the big money to get the tools they needed, the technological tools that we now have in this day and age. Gone are the days of writing all my calories down in a notebook. We've got all these tools at our disposal now. Getting the right app that you'll use, getting the right health coach you trust, that you can talk to every day, that you can talk to about how much you're sleeping, how much you're eating, someone you're going to be honest with, because you got to be really honest about what you're putting in your body. So I had to do a calorie deficit. I had to work with a dietitian. I had to make sure I'm getting all my steps in. Sometimes that's a minimum of 8,000 steps. Sometimes it's 13,000 steps a day. But you got to get all those tools in the right places. But then you have to set that habit, weighing in every day, having that accountability. I have to make sure I'm just being transparent with people. If it's just me holding myself accountable, then it probably wouldn't always work so well. I had to be open and honest with people about like if I'm doing well or not doing well on my plan. So you had to put all the right people in the right places, but you have to trust them. And then you have to truly believe that they want what's best for you in order to make the plan work. And then I was very reluctant to ever go on a weight loss medication. And then I started a weight loss medication, and that has aided in a little bit of the help. I think my worries about that is hoping I don't have to be on it for the rest of my life. And I'm dealing with all of that as well, but that has also helped as well. So like, I wish it was an easy answer. I wish it was, but it's about like the people in the right places, and then setting myself up for my own success and believing in myself too. I had to really dive deep to tell myself, Kristi, you're worth this, people want this for you. You want it for you. And it really is going to improve the quality of your life. And it's the most holistic thing. It's the most holistic gift you can give to yourself, especially, I think, after my brother died. I thought of my parents having to bury another sibling due to like heart disease or high blood pressure or diabetes, or, just dying in your sleep because your heart gives out. Like the thought of that terrified me. And that's when I really realized that like, it's so important to take good care of ourselves. We owe it to ourselves to do it.
Kristi, I bet your brother was a big catalyst to your story. Tell us about him.
Yeah.
And I know he was absolutely amazing. And again, we couldn't be more sorry for your loss. What was he like, and how does he play into your story?
Yeah. He's my baby brother. So there's like 6 years between me and my sister, and then 7 between my brother John. So my sister Carrie, my brother John, and then my baby brother Nady. And again, my parents got divorced. And so Nady became my brother when he was about 1 in diapers. And so, he's been my brother as long as he's been alive. And he had the biggest heart and soul, and he was all fun. And I know that we are trying to live every day like Nate would like us to live. And so we're trying not to like live in the grief and the despair, because he lived life large, and he was this big guy too. He was this big burly guy, and he has the most beautiful, I love my sister-in-law. He had the most beautiful wife. They had this beautiful love story, been together like 17 years, married for over 10. They have 2 small children, my niece and my nephew, that I love. And he just lived life vicariously. And, I'm the oldest child, the type A, oldest child that was responsible and organized, and I don't take risks, and I'm looking out for them. And so I think he and I, we always had the most enchanting banter back and forth, because, we were always teasing each other and playing around with each other. The week before he died too, we were at Christmas, and I was teasing him about wearing a hat at the Christmas table. And he's all like, I got a receding hairline and we're getting older. And we were just really playful back and forth. And I think that's what I miss the most, because right now he would have some fun comment for me about like, oh my gosh, 93 pounds, where'd you all put it? And he would have something funny to say to me about all that. And so like his death has just been this deep void for all of us. But I think like in my head, I know like he's rooting for me. And I know like when I spend a lot of time now with his children, and I love spending time with them. And we just celebrated my nephew's 6th birthday, and we went bowling, and the 2-year-old niece was on my hip while we were bowling. And I was grateful for the 93 pounds that I've lost. That makes it easier to pick up a 2-year-old, makes it easier to chase after them because they're young and they're vibrant and they have all that energy. And it makes me happy that I get to be the auntie and the sister to my siblings, and get to be the daughter to my parents, especially my stepmom. That was her only biological son. And it makes me proud that I get to be there for them, and that I didn't die in the car accident 3 years ago, and I get to be there for them and in their life. So it's just that more important to me. My sister's a nurse, and so she is probably my biggest healer out of all my siblings. My brothers are, plus they're guys, but my sister is very practical. She's a vegan. She's my cheerleader from a very educational standpoint and a loving standpoint. And the boys in my life and my dad too, the ones that are all like, that's awesome. You look great. You're fitting in new clothes or whatever. But it's fun to have each of my siblings have been a part of this journey for me in a different way. But the loss of Nate is that fun part of the journey that I'm sure I just miss the comments that he'd be saying. And I sometimes just think he's on my shoulder, still telling me something funny to keep me going. Yeah.
I believe that he's shining down. I believe that he is on your shoulder. And again, he'll never be forgotten. I've heard so many amazing things about who he was.
Yeah.
And you had a brother to be incredibly proud of. And I know if he was here with us today, he'd be beyond proud of you and a huge part of his story. And we want to honor him in speaking about him today. When I talk about being healthy, body, mind, and spirit, for all of us, we're on this journey called life. And I already said it, but perfect doesn't exist. So I asked myself, what is the near win? I like to say, what is celebrating the near win, and how can we be our best self? In a little bit, I'm going to tell you a story about how I take, 3 steps forward and a step backward and get your advice. But, when we break it down to being healthy body, mind, and spirit, I want to hear a little bit. I know your faith is really important to you. How is your faith with the car accident, the loss of your brother, your own weight loss journey? You're an incredible mom. You're an incredible guardian at Litem. Like I said, you are just cool in every direction and have significant ripples. That's why you're sitting here.
The only person who calls me cool, but I love it.
You've always been cool, way younger and so cool. I've looked up to you forever, but spiritually being sound, and you hear me say all the time, I'm going to die a work in progress. And so perfect doesn't exist, but I know your faith is really important to you. How has that played a role your entire life, but specifically in the last 3 years?
When you survive a head-on crash, and you have a lot of why questions, right? You have a lot of why questions about why did I survive that? And there must be some purpose. And I think, it's like the 5 stages of grief from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book too. Like you're going through like the bargaining and the acceptance and all the phases that are normal to go through, but then you question your faith. Like, why did this have to happen? Because then it put my family in a financial strain, of not being able to work. And then I've got the chronic pain. And why at this stage of my life? I'm about to be an empty nester. I'm looking to, find companionship in this life and love and, maybe travel. Why would you why would anybody burden you with more chronic pain or financial hardships? Or why did you, at the time when my son was about to be a senior, you have a lot of why questions. Why did that have to happen? Why did my brother, have to die? And why couldn't it have just been an easy period of our life after the highs and lows? So you go through a little bit of anger, which doesn't help weight loss, doesn't help your mind. You go through a little bit of stepping away, isolating. And I know I hear that a lot from my clients too. One of the warning flags of the work that I do is when people start isolating, is they're usually struggling, right? With their own sobriety, with their own mental health, when they stop communicating with loved ones, and then you start isolating of I'm a burden on people, and I'm a burden on them. And so I went through a lot of big feelings. But eventually that body, mind, soul connection sort of balanced out. And my faith said, whatever the higher tapestry and purpose of all this is, I know we talked about that tapestry. We don't have the roadmap for that. We don't have the plan. We don't get the behind the scenes view of why this happened or a part of God's plan. We just have to know that this happened. And how do we move forward and be the best versions of ourselves? We can't go back and change the past. We can only learn from it. And how are we in the present living our best lives? And how are we setting ourselves up for success in the future? And so that's been my mantra. I'm living each day as it comes, living at large for my brother, because that's what he'd want us all to do. It's what my sister-in-law is doing every day. I'm just so immensely proud of her because I don't know how she does it. But she's got 2 miracles that she's doing it for. And so I do it for them. I do it for my kids. I do it for the people at the gym too. I keep thinking to myself, when I show up for my shift, I'm helping them get in the door too and answering their questions to whatever wellness journey they're for. Because we all have our reasons we're at the gym. We all have our reasons. Part of the accident's part of my reason. Nate's part of my reason. My kids are part of my reason, and nieces and nephews. But Christine, strangers are a part of my reason. When people are saying oh my gosh, Kristi lost 93 pounds. I've got 50 to lose. Maybe there's one thing I can tell them that's going to help them reach their goal too. And those are my big wins. And my faith is a huge part of that. I'm rooting for everybody spiritually. I'm saying prayers for everybody. But I'm vocalizing how proud I am of people. I'm telling my accountability partners, my guys and girlfriends right now, I'm thanking them for motivating me and being in my life. And that's helping too. Yeah, it's all helping. Yeah.
I'm going to say it again. You're an absolute light, just a joy. And I love how inspiring you are.
Thank you.
When I think about weight loss and wellness, you already said it earlier, but believing in yourself is a really big deal. I often think that the biggest thing we have going against us or for us is our own minds. And your brother Nate is a huge part of your story. Your accident's a huge part of your story. Your family, your friends, your community, all of your life is a huge part of your story and deserves a ton of credit and praise. But at the end of the day, it had to come down to you deciding, do I believe in myself? And you said you had to accept that you're worth it and you deserve it. And Kristi Barber, you're gold. You're absolute gold. I couldn't be more proud of you. But I'm not just proud of the weight loss. I already said it. There's so much coolness to you and so much ripples way beyond the weight loss. But you had to decide to believe in you and you had to want to do that for yourself. The listener that maybe is struggling with believing in themselves, what advice can you give to them about they're worth it, they're valued, whether they have 5 pounds to lose or 50 pounds to lose or 100, or maybe they have no pounds to lose, but they're eating unhealthy or they're not exercising. Again, we're celebrating February being Heart Health Awareness Month. What would you say to the listener that doesn't believe in themselves?
Such an important question. I always go back to like what people ask, what do you need? You know, I got that a lot. Like, what do you need? In fact, I had 2 court hearings this morning, and one of my favorite questions the judge asks to families is, do they have what they need to be successful, right? And so like, if someone's struggling right now, and a lot of professionally, the people I work with are, when I ask them like, you know, what do you need to be successful? And they can't come up with anything, then I try to highlight what were the wins for today? What were those wins for today, right? And sometimes the smallest win is you got out of bed. In the world of mental health, and there's so much heaviness in the world, the fact that you made the conscious choice to get out of bed today is a win. The fact that you maybe chose to eat a healthy breakfast is a win. Maybe you sent a loving text message to somebody in your life. That's a win. You kind of have to start with like peeling back the layers. We talk about peeling back the layers of the onion. You peel back the layers of the person. And if they can see those small sparks in their day, you know, those joy moments, those like win moments, if you can find a few of those, you can build on those. And so like in the world of chemical dependency, which is a lot of what my caseload is, you know, you will celebrate, even if a parent doesn't have their kids back in their care yet, you will celebrate by asking them, how many days have you been sober today? You know, and maybe it's 36 days. That's 36 tough days. And then you ask, what could we do to get you to day 37? And it's kind of like that way with weight loss right now too. It's like, if someone's struggling right now and they're like, I've only lost 15 pounds, I'm plateauing. I've been there. I plateaued all last summer and it was painful. And it was, you doubt where you're at. You're trying to make sense of it. I'm in a little plateau right now. My post a couple of weeks ago was like, I have 7 pounds to lose, and I got down to 5, and now I'm back up to 7 pounds to lose, and it's not making any sense to me either. And I can sense it's frustrating for everybody, but at the same time, it's like, what do I need to get there? And sometimes you just have to ask that person, what's the one thing I can offer you? And then if they can't find anything, ask what were the wins for today? And that's what I kind of go back to. Well, you know, maybe today was kind of a crappy day, but there had to have been something that got us through the day. What was that joy moment, that spark moment, that win moment? And that's what gets me through my day. Yeah. Like today, I had good hearings, which makes it helpful too. The weather is awful outside, but I have a roof to go home to. And like being on the podcast today, maybe helping one person out there, one person, that one pebble effect, that's going to be like my spark and my joy moment for today. And that'll carry me through.
And the little wins add up to big wins over time. And I think stopping to celebrate the little wins is so important. Let's talk about setbacks. And I'm going to tell you about my own vulnerable story from just last night in this morning. To hear this. It's a small story, but it's important that I tell the truth. And the truth is some days I do good and many days I don't. Yeah. But if we can have more wins than losses, over time, that adds up.
They do.
So my husband, Jamie, had a birthday 2 days ago. Yeah. And I made cupcakes with cream cheese frosting. And I made way more frosting than what I needed, Kristi. And I should have thrown it away. But one of my big weaknesses in life is caramel corn and frosting. So not only did I have a bunch of cake for his birthday or cupcakes and way too much frosting, should have thrown it away or made something else or brought something to a neighbor. That's what I should have done. So last night at 11 o'clock, I should have gone to bed. Instead, no lie, I had 7 tablespoons, I'm certain, maybe 10, maybe 5, but probably 7 plus tablespoons of cream cheese frosting at 11 o'clock. Oh. That's how much I like frosting. And I've had my own heart surgery. I was born with a large hole in my heart, a birth defect. And so Mayo Clinic did heart surgery 2 years ago. My own dad has had 2 heart attacks and triple bypass. I have no idea what my veins look like, if they're good, if they're bad, but I was born with a heart defect. Again, I had heart surgery. We have heart disease in our family. It's something that I'm really mindful of. I really aspire to have a more healthy heart. But last night, my own self, 7 tablespoons of cream cheese frosting. Then I sleep bad because of all of the sugar. Then I set my alarm this morning. One of my goals, and I said it on a podcast a couple weeks ago, was to get up and spend time just being still with God or in scripture or praying for people, to each their own. But that's personally one of my faith goals is to center my heart every morning. Kristi, I get up, I hit snooze 3 times. No, I don't get up. I hit snooze 3 times this morning. And so that's just a small example, but oftentimes I'll take 3 steps forward, 1 step backward, 10 steps forward, 20 steps backward. But I think if we can have more positive wins versus setbacks, that can add up to big things. Talk about setbacks and how I'm sure, 93 pounds is an incredible accomplishment. Again, woohoo! But you had days of setbacks.
Oh, yeah.
Speak to the listener. How do you forgive yourself and move forward? Because if you say to yourself, you know what, if you speak too negatively to yourself and have a negative mindset, you might stop all of the gain. So how did you deal with setbacks? Give yourself grace, learn from the setback, and move forward.
Oh, setbacks are part of the process. And I think they're supposed to be a part of the process. If life was just simple and easy and that roadmap, I don't think we'd have the life lessons that we have. I've been there in your shoes, Christine, of frosting is not my weakness, but guacamole is. And I think we all have those nights. We call them cheat days sometimes in the world of weight loss. We call them cheat days or we call them weak moments. I can tell you that my past weight loss failures, and failures maybe not even the best word to use, because those times where I wasn't successful, let's phrase it that way. Those times where I wasn't successful have led to knowing better and doing better now. And so on a night like that, where you have all the frosting, I have all the guacamole, the next morning, things don't go to par. It's about being mindful about recognizing it. That's huge. Recognizing okay, I made some conscious choices here. And that's what I have that more awareness of it now too. But then instead of saying, I'm just going to throw this whole day away, Okay, I had all that frosting last night. I've already slept bad. You know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to have a really big meal for lunch, a really big dinner, and then I'll start over again tomorrow, because then sometimes tomorrow turns into the next day, or I'll start February 1st, or you know what? We'll just put that off till summer. I think like giving ourselves enough grace to say, like, that didn't go as planned, oopsies. Like, but I'm worth it. I have that self-worth and self-awareness that I'm going to try again at lunch today. We talked about going for lunch. Maybe we're going to have a really tasty salad for lunch today and celebrate that and look at that in a real positive way, because it is about the way we speak to each other. I moved into a new place recently, and it was not the easiest moving in process. And I remember my sister, bless my sister's heart, again, one of my favorite people in my whole world. I love her dearly. But she was all like, "Are you talking nice to your apartment?" And I'm like, what? And she's like, you need to talk nice to your apartment, because maybe it's hearing you. And she said it in a way of, she doesn't really think the apartment is talking to me, but it is. The way we talk to ourselves matters. The way we see through our lens matters. And people pick up on that. People do pick up on the way we treat ourselves and the way we carry ourselves. And it does matter. We need to be our biggest cheerleaders sometimes too.
Speaking of cheerleaders, I asked you the other day, I said, what are you most proud of and what has surprised you the most? And you told me you knew that your family and closest friends would be on your team, but tell the listeners about the rest of the community that surprised you.
I'm most proud of, and it was surprised me. I didn't expect it, but I'm most proud of the people in the last 18 months that were there for me when I started the journey that I didn't have in the plan. Like, are my parents going to be proud of me? Absolutely. It's unconditional love. Were my kids going to be huge cheerleaders? Like, I knew those people were looking forward to this. I knew my doctor, my medical team, I knew those people on board. I didn't realize I was going to make friends at the gym, or I was going to make friends in the community, complete strangers who were rooting for me behind the scenes, that almost give me more motivation, because they didn't have to. They didn't sign up to be part of Kristi's cheerleading squad. They're the ones now who'll send a text, or just like seeing their face walk into the gym is like a light for me. And so like it was the strangers that hold the door, and they're all like, "Oh man, looking great. Like, how's it going?" Those are the people right now that like, they're the hidden heroes kind of like the behind the scenes work you do. And they weren't part of the plan. They just showed up, and they're there now. And I couldn't imagine getting through most days or weeks without some of them now. Like, I literally rely on them. And even if they went away today, now I have that realization that there are people everywhere. And I might find those small motivators and those small acts of kindness and those small people in the most unexpected places. And I didn't realize I'd need them as much as I do. So it just goes back to show, like, in our faith communities, in our schools, in the places that we work, in our neighborhoods, there are these pockets of people with like these hidden gifts that maybe you didn't see before. They've always had them. But now that you see them clearly in the light of day, like how important they are. Yeah. It's the smallest things, and they make the biggest difference.
I think that's a really special part of your story. And what inspires me and all of us listening, it's a reminder to us that when we're at the gym, when we're at the grocery store, wherever we are, it might be that one act of kindness. It might be that one sentence of encouragement. It might be a pat on the back. It might be a smile. It's the little things. And the people that you least expected probably that have really inspired you. So I think for all of us going through life, whether we're working on our own story or watching someone else's story, it's those little things that we step into. How we can encourage each other and feel encouraged is such a gift. And I think sometimes we forget how important those little things are. Yeah. Like you've told me, that's a huge part of your story, is the little things from all of the community around you. When you hit 100 pounds, and you're going to do it
soon.
I hope. And by the way, we are going out for lunch today. I'm going to treat you. I'm going to have a salad after the 7 tablespoons of cream cheese frosting.
No pressure.
When you hit 100 pounds, What are you going to do to celebrate?
It's a dream to hit it. I think it'll be similar to what I did when I crossed the threshold of a big number recently. So I had set to get into a complete new weight class. It had been, my health coach and I set up like 4-month goals, and I had recently hit just a number I needed to hit. And I had recently hit it, and unexpectedly had hit it on a day I was going to be hanging out with a good friend. And we just made it a really memorable day. And it was small things, right? But you really just have to find someone who loves the person you are for you, and someone you love and care about for the person they are. And that when you have an abundance of family and friends that feel that way about you, then it's kind of a gift. You get to kind of set yourself up that day. But I think as long as you spend it with someone who truly cares about you, then it makes a difference. And so I'm hoping on that 100-pound day, because I won't be in control of it. I sometimes feel like I'm hoping that I get to spend it with someone that I love, and that is gonna cherish that moment just as much as I do, because it was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears essentially. But that's what makes it special, is just spending it with someone who cares. Mm-hmm. I hope I get there soon.
You will. You absolutely will. Yeah. And I have to tell you, Kristi, one of the reasons why I show up at Snap Fitness, and again, I'm so proud of Nate and Jess Neal and their leadership and how hard they've worked with our prior Snap and our brand new Snap at Spicer, and how beautiful it is and how it makes me feel. But one of the reasons why I show up, and I'm not saying this to make you feel good, is because of you. I show up because you are part of my joy. You're just a light to everyone around you, whether it's in your professional work, whether it's at Snap Fitness, whether it's at our local grocery store, whether it's on the school board, the mom that you are, the aunt that you are, the list goes on and on. You are so joyful, and you're just a light. And it's so evident to me that your faith is strong. You're a strong person, and you're a beautiful person, weight loss or not. And that was one of the biggest reasons why I was excited to celebrate you today. I want to leave the listener with one more nugget. And if you end up repeating yourself, that's okay. We can't hear these messages enough. When we talk about body, mind, and spirit, if you were to give them one tip when you're at the gym or you're working out at home, what would one, whether it's a working out tip, cardio or weights, or eating, when we think of our body, what is one tip that you've learned or one nugget of inspiration?
It's actually something that just came out of a school board conference just last week. Being on the school board has been an honor because the community elects you. But an NFL player came as our closing keynote. And the way that he phrased this has stuck with me last week. And it's just a difference in phrasing than what I'd already been doing. But he said, find your fuel. What fuels you? And that was something that as an athlete and as someone, and he was referring to like this circle of all the things that fuel us in our life, right? And give us the energy we need, the motivation we need. And he said, find your fuel. And so like my little nugget lately has been just those 3 words, like, Kristi, find your fuel for today. Find your fuel for what you need to power through in a positive and healthy way. And that fuel looks different, right? We all wish it was just unleaded gas we could put in, like that one simple fix, right? But every day it's going to look a little bit different. Like the fuel today might be just reconnecting by text or phone call with someone you love. It might be, like you said, today the fuel is being on this beautiful podcast. The fuel looks different every day, but find your fuel. And hopefully that's a long laundry list of things that, power that vehicle, this body we have. But if you find your fuel and name it and own it and honor it, it works.
I love that. Let's not wait to be joyful. Let's not wait for perfect, to every day find the beauty and to find your fuel and to celebrate that fuel. That is so beautiful. When we think about mindset, you've spoke a lot about the importance of mindset. Again, whether it's a new nugget or pebble or something that you repeat yourself, inspire us. What's a reminder with mindset and the importance of keeping our mind strong? Again, what we tell ourselves is often we have the biggest thing going against us or for us often is our own mind and what we're telling ourselves and how much we believe in ourselves.
The mindset, I think the biggest thing that comes back to mindset, and this just relates back to, again, the message I send to my kids and the kids on my caseload is like somebody cares. I genuinely care. I think when you share that from a human emotion and compassion that I care to another person and they genuinely believe it and it's heartfelt and it's meaningful. When you tell yourself that too, when you tell your mindset that I care about myself, I care about the world I live in, I care about the people in my lives, I care about the strangers I'm seeing, I genuinely want the best for them, like I want the best for myself, that mindset helps. But you have to believe it as well. Like you honestly have to believe that you want the best for yourself. And as long as you do, it gets you through. Yeah. That's the mindset I live by is I genuinely, honestly, authentically care about people. I'm curious about them, just like I'm curious about myself and my life and what the future holds. But I genuinely care about myself and you love yourself and you love others.
Kristi, I was just going to ask you that. I think because this is a faith-based podcast, I'm just going to say it. I think God wants us to love ourselves. He absolutely wants us to love ourselves. And it's almost a great disappointment to him if we don't. God made you just the way you are. And you are a perfect Kristi Barber in his sight. And so I do think it starts with loving ourselves too. Don't you think that's so important?
Yeah. And back to your point, like we're a work in progress, but like I think he loves that we're a work in progress.
Yeah.
I do. I think it's intended to be that way. Yeah.
And I think
there's perfection in that imperfection. Yeah.
And if we can see the beauty in the work in progress, then we take the perfection away, which is really beautiful.
It is.
We're all a work in progress, and we're going to continue to pray for you, cheer you on. I'm going to do one last woohoo. I was so pumped to dig into your heart, and I've told you for a long time, Kristi, I'm so excited to celebrate you and celebrate who you are, celebrate the light that you are, the joy you bring to countless people. You are crazy inspiring. Weight loss or not, you are crazy inspiring with profound ripples. So she can be found at Snap Fitness in Spicer, Minnesota. If you want to go find her. A lot of the days of the week. She can be found on social media, but a heart of gold with tremendous impact personally and professionally and throughout the community. And you've inspired us greatly today. We couldn't be more proud of you. We're wildly, wildly cheering you on. God's richest blessings to you, Kristi.
Thank you.
Thank you for the inspiration.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me.
This has been the One Pebble Podcast. One pebble, so many ripples. What will you do to make a difference?